Hi, welcome to Haute Moms Dinner Club. It's that time of the week again. Another work week coming up, and we've got your meals ready to go for you. So the 4 meals that we're working on this week for bin 20, we're going to start with chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. Yes, I said 40. Or 40-ish cloves of garlic, because I'm not going to really count all mine. Basically, it's a baked chicken dish. So we're going to cook the chicken off first in the pan, and then we're going to bake it in the oven with 40 cloves of garlic, obviously, some other herbs, spices, some chicken broth. Russet potatoes cubed up are going to be baked in that as well with the chicken. We're going to serve it with some blanched broccoli and just some nice country bread. I've got this nice loaf of panna di casa. We're going to use this for meal 1 and for meal 3. Next, we have meal 2. That's just fried shrimp with baked potatoes and coleslaw. We're going to make a good amount of coleslaw, though, because we're also going to serve that later with meal 4. Back in bin 6, we did coleslaw that I bought a prepackaged mix, and then I made the dressing. This one we're doing completely from scratch because it's actually super easy, and I know buying the bag coleslaw is a big time saver, and if you want to do that, that's fine. It's just that the store I was at wanted like $2 plus for the bag of coleslaw mix, and I just couldn't see paying that, especially when I already had red cabbage and carrots in my refrigerator at home. Meal 3, we're going to make homemade chicken noodle soup. So when we make meal 1, our chicken with 40 cloves of garlic, we're going to add a little bit of extra chicken in that we're going to save, and that's the chicken we're going to use for our homemade chicken noodle soup. Plus, I mentioned we're going to use the same bread for meal 1. We're just going to make some grilled cheese sandwiches with this nice country bread, and that's going to be a really good, really comforting home-style meal 3. And then meal 4, another super easy one, brats on buns with baked beans and coleslaw. So we've got our coleslaw already made for meal 2. We're going to warm up a can of baked beans. We're going to make some brats and put them on some buns. So super easy. These meals can be done in any order this week, other than the fact that you need to cook your chicken with 40 cloves of garlic before you make your homemade chicken noodle soup. You can do the brats with the coleslaw first and then the shrimp toward the end of the thing. You just know you're sharing the coleslaw, but you're doing half for each one. Not a big issue this week if you move meals around. And if you have an opportunity, make your own homemade chicken broth for this week. We're going to be using a good amount in the chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. That's going to bake in the chicken broth. And also, obviously, homemade chicken noodle soup, we're going to use a good amount there. So I made a batch with the frozen bones and vegetables and stuff I've had in my freezer. So if you have time, go ahead and make a batch of that. Otherwise, you'll need to spend probably $3 to $5 on buying canned chicken broth or bouillon. So I think that's it. So we got 4 nice meals, so let's get cooking. Let's get started on our chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. So the first thing I want to do is get our chicken ready. I had intended on getting chicken thighs on another bin. I got a nice 8-pack of chicken thighs that were perfect. I made 4 for that meal and had 4 that I saved for a later date. This time I was not lucky to find a family-sized pack of chicken thighs. They had these chicken leg quarters here marked down to $4.90. So I opted on this. So I'm going to show you, first of all, how to cut your chicken leg quarters so that you'll now have drumsticks and thighs. I'm going to show you that first of all. But I would suggest, just so that you don't have to do this, go ahead and just pick up chicken thighs. Now remember, you'll need however many you need per person. And then remember, you need to have a couple extra pieces for your chicken noodle soup. I'm actually going to cook 3 of these chicken leg quarters, and then I'm going to piece those out. So that'll give my family of 3 a drumstick and a thigh each. And then I'm going to cook 1 extra for the soup. So I'll be cooking 4 of these, which will include my 1 extra for the soup. So there's really nothing to doing this. It's just that you just got to find just the right spot so that this cuts in half very easily. So you could try to feel it from this side, but you're probably better off turning them over. And then right where the leg and the thigh meet, you'll find the knuckle joint. And you just have to put your knife right in between those. And then it should go right through. And you can divide them up very easily. So, like I said, don't worry if this happens. There's really nothing to it. You just got to find that spot. Done. Gonna get these marinating up with the olive oil, salt, pepper, and dried thyme. And I'm gonna start stirring them off. I'm gonna sear mine in a Dutch oven. I bought a Dutch oven to bake some Boston baked beans for Daddy's new addiction, so I'm gonna use that to cook this in. If you don't have that, you can use a casserole dish or any other large saucepan that will accommodate all this chicken and sauce in it. While I've got my chicken all browning, I'm gonna start separating my cloves of garlic here. So I just got 3 heads, and I'm just gonna get the cloves all separated. So I'm moving on to the second round of chicken. I've also got some water boiling here that I can dunk those garlic cloves in and hope that the skin comes off a lot easier than having to peel each and every one of them. So I'm just gonna bring this little dab of water up to a boil while I'm searing all this off. We got our chicken browned off there. Let's set this over to the side while we work on our garlic. Now I saw a couple different ideas on this. One was to shake our way to peeled garlic. I've been shaking it for a while. It's kind of working. I mean, some of them, that one got pretty cleaned, but others, nothing happened to it. So I'm gonna try this other method. Dumping them in here for 60 seconds and then peeling them and see if they peel easier that way. You can also buy these already peeled, but it's going to be about double the cost when it's already peeled. So that's up to you. So we'll give those 60 seconds in there. We're going to drain them and peel them. You can also just cut the ends off and just peel them dry. It's just that it will take you a little bit of time and a little smelly on your fingers, but I think this way is going to work just fine. So that actually seemed to work pretty good. There's still a little bit of work, but for the most part, it's just pulling right off. So I'll finish getting all these cleaned up, and we're gonna make our sauce. You save all these garlic pieces too for your homemade stock, although I wouldn't suggest putting these all in for one batch of stock because you may be on garlic overload. So I got my garlic all clean. I'm gonna start browning that off. Gonna add just a little bit of flour just to kind of tighten up the sauce. I'm going to deglaze with some white wine. Now, if you don't have white wine, you can just skip this and just move on to the chicken broth. Also, it's not like you have to buy an expensive white wine. This was a $2.99 bottle of wine that I'm going to use for cooking. So don't think you have to buy an expensive wine if you're just going to be cooking with it. I'm going to use about 1/3 of the bottle, get this deglazing. Like I said, if you don't want to put it in, don't worry about it. Just skip it. I'm going to get all those bits up off this. Chicken broth. While my sauce is kind of simmering and cooking out that flour for just a bit, I'm going to cut on the potatoes and then I'll go back and finish up the sauce so we can get all this in to bake. I've got potatoes here. I saved out of the bag of potatoes, I saved some good ones for our baked potatoes for meal 2. I've got 3 other ones. I'm just going to cube those up. We're going to throw that in with the chicken to bake it. Skin on, washed potatoes again. I'm just going to cube them up, and I'll toss that in with the chicken and the garlic when it goes in the oven to bake. All right, so that's kind of smoothed out a bit. I'm going to add a little milk in here. You can put heavy cream in if you want and if you have it. If you don't have it, just put a little bit of milk in there. A little more salt and pepper. Do a little more thyme. I'm going to load this up with our chicken and our potatoes, and we're going to put it in the oven to bake for about 40 minutes. While our chicken's cooking, I'm going to get the broccoli cut into spears, and I'm also going to get the bread ready for the oven. I'm really not going to do much, but just spread a little butter on this and just toast it in the oven. The broccoli and the bread are just going to go in a couple minutes before the chicken is ready to go. You've seen me do this so many times. Heavily salted water, drop the broccoli in when it's at a rolling boil. When it comes back to a rolling boil, I'm going to let it cook for 1 minute and then I'm going to pull it up. So our chicken with 40 cloves of garlic just came out of the oven. Oh, look at that. You want to make sure that you save whatever you cooked for your chicken noodle soup. We got our nice potatoes in there. And some of our cloves of garlic. One more of the juice on the top. Yummy. Chicken with 40 cloves of garlic, blanched broccoli, and our nice crunchy bread there. So a couple of ideas on your chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. So it does take a long time to bake. So here's a couple of suggestions for you. One, you can cook it for a longer length of time on the stove top, and then that will cut down your baking time because it will cook faster on the stove top than in the oven. However, you do run the risk of scorching it or having burn spots, and you do have to tend to it a little bit more. When you just put it in the oven, you can just kind of forget about it. You could rearrange the meals. You could do perhaps the shrimp or the bratwurst for meal one. While you're making that meal, you could, for instance, prep your garlic cloves. You could also pre-brown your chicken so that when you come home from work the next night, you've got your chicken already browned. All you have to do is just get your skillet getting hot, start browning off the garlic, make the sauce, throw in your chicken potatoes, and then that can reduce your time on that dinner. A couple of ideas there. Cook it longer on the stove, less time in the oven to make it go faster, or do the bratwurst or the fried shrimp meal first and get a head start on the chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. It's time for meal two. We're gonna start meal two by getting our potatoes in the oven to bake. That's gonna be the only lengthy item on this meal, is getting your potatoes baked. You can also make your coleslaw whenever, because the more it sits and wilts, the nicer it is. So if you want to go ahead and just get your potatoes in the oven and get your coleslaw made, then all you have to do is just fry your shrimp toward the very end. I've got this family pack of shrimp here. Got some cocktail sauce to serve that with. So I'm gonna start getting our potatoes in. I'm gonna wrap them in foil, toss them with oil, salt, and pepper. Those are gonna go in the oven. Then I'm gonna start by shredding up our cabbage. So I'm gonna get the cabbage ready for the coleslaw, and then I'll show you how to make the dressing to dress the coleslaw with. So about 3/4 ahead of the green, 1/4 on the purple, and then the carrots, 1 to 2 carrots, depending on the size and depending on your preference, if you want it to have a lot of carrot or just a little carrot. I did 2 because mine were rather small. So now I'm going to make the dressing here, and that's it. We're just going to add the dressing into this, and that is done. You can buy this pre-made if you would like. Buy it and make it yourself. You'll have some of this left over for sure, and that's great for salads. I love this in salads. For our dressing, we just got 1/4 of a red onion in here. We're gonna spray this up. We're gonna add in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. We've got a couple tablespoons of sugar, again, depending on your preference, if you like it sweet or not so sweet. Some salt and pepper, and then of course our mayonnaise. I've got about almost 3/4 of a cup here for that much. We may actually even have to add a little bit more. It may seem a little bit dry in the beginning when you add it in, but you know, once your cabbage does start to wilt, it will get juicier. Pop this in the refrigerator, and I'll give it another stir and put it in a clean dish before I serve it. So our baked potatoes are almost done. I'm going to mix the coleslaw together one more time and get it in a clean bowl. I'm going to drop our shrimp. You can cook your shrimp according to the package direction. This one you can bake or fry. Bake them if you want them, fry them if you want them, however you want to do it. Just cook your shrimp according to the package direction, and however many pieces you need for your dinner.
So that's meal 2, our breaded shrimp dinner with baked potatoes and coleslaw. Super quick and easy. All you need to worry about is getting those potatoes in ASAP. Then you have lots of time to work on your coleslaw and your shrimp. You can always microwave your potatoes too if you don't have enough time to bake them. The coleslaw here was completely made from scratch. However, you've got lots of alternatives. You can always buy the coleslaw base and make your dressing. You can also buy the base with the dressing included in there, or you can always just make the base and then buy the dressing pre-made, or even a poppy seed dressing if you prefer that. Just look for the best deal for you and your budget. I purchased sour cream for our potatoes and cocktail sauce for our shrimp. The cocktail sauce wasn't expensive, but you can always make that too as well. Cocktail sauce is just ketchup with prepared horseradish, lemon juice, and Worcestershire sauce. So this plate just looks like something straight out of a restaurant. However, if you were to get this at a restaurant, you'd be paying probably $12 to $15 per plate. So when you think about that, if you take your family out and add on another $10, say, for iced tea or sodas, plus the tax, you are looking at well over $60 for all four of you to eat this dinner. So that's what I love about Haute Moms. It gives you four of these restaurant quality meals for under $50. It's easy to stay on your food budget when you're eating this good with these quality meals with tons of variety. Plus, with all the money that you're saving on a regular basis, you can set up dining out intervals that work for you and your family for your particular budget. Whether it be once a week or once a month, you now have the money and the freedom to spend that money on dining out. And that way you can do it and enjoy it without feeling regret or remorse. Hot Mom's Dinner Club is just here to help you spend your food money a little bit wiser.
We're going to start on meal 3, our homemade chicken noodle soup. So I've got our chicken for the soup reserved from the chicken with 40 cloves of garlic meal. I saved some of that. I've got it pulled. It's ready to go in the soup. I've got my mirepoix already started. I've got my onions diced. I've got my celery. I've got my carrots. These you can do any cut that you would want. Some people like it to resemble store-bought soup. Other people want to cut theirs completely different so everybody knows it's home style. So however you want to cut your vegetables is fine with me. We're going to start by sauteing these. I'm going to add in salt and pepper. I'm going to season it up with poultry seasoning, Italian seasoning. I've got the homemade chicken broth I'm going to add in. I'm going to let everything cook for just a short bit. Basically, you're just trying to make sure that your carrots and your celery get cooked. You don't want to cook them till they're falling apart. Toward the end, we're going to add in the egg noodles and some frozen peas. The egg noodles won't take long to cook, 5 to 7 minutes. The peas just need a couple of minutes as well because you want them to keep their nice green color. So this is actually going to be a fairly quick moving soup. So I'm going to get started on that. I'm going to lightly saute the vegetables. I'm not going for a caramelization or trying to add any color into this whatsoever. I'd like to keep it very light. So it's just going to be a quick saute with the herbs, the salt and pepper, and then we're going to dump in the chicken broth. So our soup is getting close to done. Meanwhile, I'm going to get our grilled cheese sandwiches ready to go. I'm just going to make a couple of them. Basically, I'm going to bake them again like I often do on the sandwiches. And I'm just going to make 2. I'm going to start them like that. I'll give the cheese an opportunity to melt. I'll close them up and then I'll make sure I crisp them on both sides. And then meanwhile, I'm going to finish up the soup. I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients into the soup. So our soup is moving along nicely. You can see our vegetables are almost getting cooked through. I'm going to add in the egg noodles. I got 2 cups of those. Let that go for a couple minutes and then we're going to add in our chicken and our half cup of peas. Oh yeah, so our chicken noodle soup is done. That is some hearty home style soup. Look at that. Serve it with the grilled cheese. Homemade chicken noodle soup with that nice grilled cheese. Super comforting, super home style. Chicken soup for the soul. This is awesome. Way better than just straight out of the can and the regular white bread grilled cheese. Chicken noodle soup with a lot of love right there. Moving on to meal 4. This one's super, super easy. So we're doing bratwurst. Bratwurst on buns with just a can of baked beans and the coleslaw that we already have made. So basically you just want to get a pot of boiling water ready to go. We're gonna get your bratwurst cooking. I got a 5-pack here. I'm gonna go ahead and cook all 5 of them off. I like to cook mine in boiling water, and then when I know that the bratwurst are good and cooked, you can dump out any remaining water that's in there and just kind of brown them in the same pan that you cooked them in. If you'd like to get them a little browned on the outside. If not, you can just straight boil them. But that's how I like to do mine. Boil them until they're done, and then remove the water and just kind of give them a little bit of a caramelization on the bottom of the pan. When I get those cooking, I'm gonna get our buns buttered and in the oven. Warm up the can of baked beans, and we've already got the coleslaw ready to go. So this one is super quick and easy. If you want to, you can get whatever condiments and stuff that you'd like to get for these brats. If you feel ambitious, you can caramelize some onions, dice up some tomatoes. Otherwise, you just have, ketchup, mustard, pickle relish, whatever you like to serve on these guys, okay? And there is meal 4. This is so super quick and easy. So the bratwurst, that's the major thing you have to get going on. Get those bratwurst on to cook. Like I said, I cook mine in boiling water, and then I let that water kind of reduce out, or I just pour it out and then just kind of caramelize them in the same pan that you boiled them in. Anyway, they get that nice coloring on there. So we got bratwurst and buns. The coleslaw, we already had the coleslaw made from meal 2 from the shrimp dinner. And then you just got a can of baked beans there. Throw out the ketchup, throw out the Dijon mustard, French's mustard, whatever condiments you need for this. Bratwurst on buns with coleslaw and baked beans, meal 4. So there is bin 20. So we started off today's meals with our chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. We baked that with the russet potatoes and obviously 40 cloves of garlic. A little bit of chicken broth. We got that big Dutch oven in the back that's full of that. We're serving that with blanched broccoli and the country bread with that, the panna di casa. That's the same bread we're going to make our grilled cheese sandwiches with later on. Next, we move into meal 2, our breaded fried shrimp dinner with baked potato, coleslaw, cocktail sauce. Looks just like something out of a restaurant there. Meal 3, we made a big pot of homemade chicken noodle soup with some of the chicken from the chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. It's a very, very simple, basic recipe, but it is delicious and your family will love it. Super comforting with the home-style grilled cheese, an alternative to just a canned chicken noodle soup and just grilled cheese on white bread. So that's very, very nourishing and comforting right there. And then meal 4, we wrapped it up with another super, super easy one. That's our bratwurst. Bratwurst on buns with baked beans, just a canned baked beans, and the coleslaw. The coleslaw, we already had it made from meal 2. So that's another one you get to sit back and relax on. Bin 20 right here. That's some great stuff. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out HauteMomsDinnerClub.com. I think you'll be surprised at how organized it is and all the great ideas you can find on there. Just pick a bin and roll with it. I think you'll be surprised with the website and how easy it is to use and all the great ideas, the recipes, the grocery list. You can download the grocery list. So a lot of exciting things on that. It also makes a great gift. HauteMomsDinnerClub.com. Lots of great, exciting things going on there. So this has been 20. Thank you so much for joining me today. Haute Moms Dinner Club.
And what to eat?